Airbnb is set to join the S&P 500 this year. In fact, Airbnb already meets all the requirements necessary to join the S&P, or at least all the obvious ones. But there's a really good reason they're not included yet. Today I'm gonna tell you what the reason is and the exact date in which they're gonna be added. So if you're an Airbnb investor, I want you to have this information before everybody else. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Alejandro and I build financial software for visualstocks.com. In this channel, I talk mostly about tech stocks. Now, before I get into the actual S&P committee decision, I want to go over some companies in the same industry that are direct competitors to Airbnb and how they joined the index. Firstly, we have Marriott, the hotel chain. They joined the S&P in 1998 at a market cap of around $5 billion. Secondly, we have Hilton. They joined the S&P in 2017, which is actually pretty recent, and they had a market cap of $15 billion. Lastly, we have Expedia and Booking.com, which joined in 2007 and 2009 respectively, and they had a market cap of less than $10 billion. The first thing you're gonna notice is that all these companies were added to the S&P when they had a market cap of much lower than what Airbnb has today, which is around $80 billion. And the reason for that is that the minimum required market cap to join the S&P changes over time. Today that number stands at around $14.6 billion. So any new company would need to cross that number to even be considered. Of course, there are other requirements, but clearly Airbnb doesn't have a market cap problem. What is the reason the S&P committee hasn't included them yet? Well, that will become evident as we go over some of the other requirements. Also, for a company to join the S&P, they have to be a US company, which is very clear in this scenario because Airbnb was founded in California. Another important one is that the stock has to be highly liquid. But what does this even mean? Well, there's two things: 250,000 shares traded every 6 months, and the value of its market cap traded annually, both of which are easily met by Airbnb. Also, at least 50% of its total shares have to be available for trading, which is also a pass because even if you count Brian Chesky's stake, Airbnb is mostly owned by institutions and retail investors. Now, lastly, but perhaps the most important requirement is the profitability criteria. This one indicates that a company joining the S&P has to be profitable in their last quarter, and they have to be profitable in conjunction along the last 4 quarters. So let's analyze this one real quick. As we can see in the chart, Airbnb was profitable in Q4. In fact, they had a pretty good quarter, and that's why the stock went up after. And over the last 4 quarters, they did about 1.9 billion in net profit. So why is the S&P not including Airbnb yet? This is pretty much all the requirements. Well, it's quite simple. This is the first calendar year in which Airbnb is actually profitable. So there's a level of consistency that the committee will take into account to add a new company to the index. And if you look at the revenue chart, you'll notice that Q1 is actually the hardest quarter in the travel and leisure sector. So the S&P Global Committee is probably waiting for Q1 results to actually make that decision. Since it would look bad on their end if they added Airbnb and then all of a sudden Airbnb becomes unprofitable right after. But even if Airbnb is profitable in Q1, they're probably not going to be added up until Q3, which is seasonally their best quarter. So when will this happen exactly? S&P Global makes 40 changes per year on average, but only a small portion of those changes are actually additions or removals from the index. And Airbnb will report Q3 in November, so they're probably going to be added to the S&P in the first week of December. Now, I want to be absolutely clear on this. It is possible that they're added before December, especially if Airbnb stays profitable in Q1 and they blow up expectations for Q2, for which case the addition will happen in September. But the highest likelihood is towards the end of this year. Now, it is important to know that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But there's only one thing that could derail all this from happening. And it's if Airbnb suffers another Airbnb bust event like the one they suffered last year in the US. And if profitability suffers as a consequence of this, then throw this out the window. To learn more about this possibility, I actually made another video discussing this to a great length, so you can check it out right here. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.